Hello there, podcast listeners. A little blast from the past. Probably the third or fourth podcast that I did was with Bonnie Blake, who this coming weekend will be getting the SOC Lifetime Achievement Award. Bonnie, congratulations from everyone here at the Op. Could not be happier for you. So without further ado, here is Bonnie Blake. On today's episode, we're going to talk about Gloria Steinem, photography, Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, the Kominsky Method, which I stupidly called the Kominsky Affair, and of course, true love. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out the breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, the musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. I may or I may not take a break or two during this episode, but I promise that none of them will be longer than 22 seconds. Finally, if you are enjoying the podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Rolling. Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set.
Back
And action.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Op. I'm Dave Kominsky, and this is the podcast where we talk to operators about the art of visual storytelling and the operator's place in it. Today, I'm very excited to have Bonnie Blake with me, a camera operator, formerly a camera assistant, who's been in the business for a bit and done a lot of great work. Most recently, the Kominsky Affair, which I want to hear about. And actually, although it's not like in the dramatic world, TED Talks and Masterclasses, which the video series, which I'm totally amazed about because I think it must be really cool to sit and listen to these incredible people. Among other things, Being Mary Jane, Insecure, Dirty Sexy Money, and a ton of other things. Bonnie, thank you for being here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking me.
This is an absolute pleasure. So tell me your story. How did you get here? How did you get to where you are? What was your path?
Well, I think it's an interesting story because it's not at all what I set out to do. In fact, when I was growing up, I knew nothing about filmmaking.
Where'd you grow up?
Louisville, Kentucky. And my interests were... Well, as I continued on my studies, I was an English major, and I was really interested in the theater, in acting, and some stagecraft. And they were always like these two things. Well, and I was interested in journalism, so these two things were always sort of competing with each other. Which direction would I go in? And eventually, the theater won out. And I moved to New York. Another big goal of my life, even from like 8 years old on, was to move to New York City. So some of my motivation for my career was what would justify moving to New York so I can get out of Louisville, Kentucky, where I grew up. So I did move to New York. I did attempt an acting career. And I ended up... very frustrated. However, I joined a collective theater company.
When was this? What years, ballpark?
This was in the early 80s.
Okay.
And I loved living in New York. I had no problem with that. Yeah. When I was in college, I had done like this whole program of going to New York and working as a copy girl at the New York Times.
What was a copy girl was...
A copy girl worked in the newsroom, and you literally took the edited pieces of copy, and you sent them where they were supposed to go. It was before computers.
Okay.
So you either took...
So you were email.
Right. I either took them to the national desk or the international desk or the metro desk, or I sent them up to be typeset for the paper. But I continued working there longer than my work study thing. And it was an incredible experience. And it relates to my film career only in the fact that at my college, which was Kalamazoo College, I was told the New York Times does not hire copy girls, only copy boys.
Oh, wow.
And then I had this journey of finding out that wasn't true. And I also had the help of Gloria Steinem, who was speaking at a local university, bigger university than mine. And she was looking for issues that were relevant to our community. And somebody told her about this.
About no copy girls.
Well, about that I was being sort of denied the chance to go there.
Yeah.
And she mentioned it in a big speech, and it got in the local paper. And so the college said, you know what?
Wow.
Yeah, you're right. There are copy girls there.
Wow.
So anyway, so that was just an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to New York. I tried the acting thing, and I did get into a collective theater company, which means it was a group of people. The commonality was our political beliefs, sort of leftist political beliefs, and we wrote and produced and acted and did lighting and carpentry and sold the tickets and ran the theater. And I was a member of that, and so I got became an outlet for my theater interests, but I was really creatively burned out after the attempt at acting, auditioning.
Okay. Gotcha.
Professionally.
How long did you try to do that?
A couple of years.
Okay.
And, a lot of waitressing, a lot of typing, a lot of, all that stuff. And a roommate of mine said that I perhaps should investigate another creative outlet. Why not take a photography class?
Uh-huh.
A friend of hers was teaching one.
Yeah.
And I said, I've never even had a camera.
Yeah.
She goes, well, it's a darkroom class. Here, take my negatives. Just explore it. And without even having shot anything, I went into the darkroom.
That was great.
And it was the teacher was Fran Antman. She was an amazing teacher. She taught me everything.
Was this like a community college thing, or?
No, it was just a private class of a bunch of people that were friends and colleagues, and I loved it. It took over my life, and I decided to try working for a professional still photographer.
Wow. What aspect of it did you love? I mean, what was it that keyed in?
I loved composition. I mean, I dabbled with being, I dabbled with artwork in school,
Okay.
My mother had been a painter, and I think sort of that seeped into my consciousness in terms of visual expression without me even really knowing it. And it just really clicked in. I loved walking around the streets of New York. I took portraits of all my friends. I just explored the whole genre, all the different genres.
That's great.
Yeah. And
it's funny because my dad is a really good amateur photographer, and when I was a kid, we had a whole setup in the basement where he would develop and print his own stuff. And I'm convinced that standing in that basement, watching watching like the picture come to life and whatever, I'm convinced that a lot of that just seeped in somehow. I think it's the same kind of thing. It can't not, right?
Yeah, it particularly when it's something that your parent loves to do.
Yeah. There's a positive aspect to that. But
the other part of it was, and I was already doing 1,000 different jobs to earn money. So I decided to work for a professional photographer to see what like commercial photography or editorial photography, to see what that world was like. And Fran, my teacher, helped me, get connected. And one of the photographers that I worked for traveled all over. We traveled. And one of his clients said, I really want a film made for my product.
Oh.
So let's shoot 16 millimeter. The still photographer didn't know anything about movies. So he and I both went and learned an Aton 16 millimeter, which I then had to load the mags and all that stuff. And I had to learn how to use a Nagra, which I learned on the plane as we were traveling to Iowa. The product was fertilizer, farm fertilizer. Okay. So the job involved going up in a helicopter. It was really crazy, but I got to go up. I helped the photographer.
Wow.
Totally unsafe, but it was really thrilling. And then I got back to New York, and, I was still working 1,000 jobs, and a friend of mine said, instead of being a stills assistant, you could be a motion picture camera assistant and you could actually earn a decent living. And I'm like, So I started looking into that, and he introduced me to a bunch of camera assistants. And I found out that one of the ways to learn about this was to volunteer to help them at a prep.
Yep.
I also met other people through them, and I met Doug Hart,
Okay.
who unfortunately just passed away.
Yeah.
But
a legendary first AC in New York.
Yes.
He was a first AC at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
And he invited me to watch a set. And I think it was a Woody Allen movie that was shooting really close to where I lived on the Upper West Side, and it was a night exterior.
Yeah.
And I visited several other sets. He was also teaching filmmaking.
Oh.
That was like one of the first sets that I ever visited. So I found out that I volunteered, the prepping. I did a little bit of camera PAing at a production company that shot commercials. They had a commercial. They had a space. Okay. And the only way I could afford to do that, because I had so many other jobs, was that I found out that they had their own cameras. So if I told them that that's what I really wanted to do, instead of having me drive and do errands as a production assistant, I could get close to the camera and I could get on set, which I did. And they taught the camera assistants, many of whom became famous DPs, did teach me things, and they taught me how to slate. And I got to actually, even though it was union, I don't know, I got to be on set and do different things, camera assistant things.
That's great.
Yeah. So then I found out that there were two unions at that point. There was IA and there was NABIT in New York. And in NABIT, all I needed to do was take a written test about all sorts of cinematography facts. And I needed to take a practical test demonstrating my knowledge of 12 different film cameras.
Wow.
Like hands-on all day.
Great.
Yeah. So I decided maybe I needed to study. So I went to NYU for a summer intensive cinematography program. And my teacher, a legendary man in New York at the time, Beta Vodka.
Beta Vodka. I went to NYU, and I never had Beta Vodka, but I knew of Beta Vodka.
Well, I had to show him my still photographs. I had to show him something to get into the class. So I showed him my stills. Yeah. And he welcomed me. And he said, I have a student assistant who just got into the union. If this is what you want to do, I'm going to show you how to do this in terms of getting up to speed with my skills.
Yeah, sure.
And he was totally 100% like, yes, no problem. You can do this.
That's great.
So I took the class, and then I decided to go the NABIT route because it was easier to get into. And I had to go to rental houses to get more practice hands-on with the...
Was NABIT sort of more commercials and 6...
It was initially, and then with the advent... Well, then they welcomed in some DPs from Europe and England. Okay. Who then also started shooting some low-budget features. Okay. And maybe some TV movies and... a few TV shows. Gotcha. So, it was an incredible bunch of people, I realize now. Yeah. Because the people that I met in NABIT, a lot of them ended up moving to Los Angeles, and a lot of them have helped me throughout my entire career.
That's great.
Yeah. So, it was a couple of us studying for the test. So we formed, because we wanted to go into these camera houses and we wanted to learn the equipment. Yeah. And so they said, form a group, and that way we can get all of you in there for 2 hours. We don't have to And there was this camera assistant, not camera assistant, there was a prep tech at General Camera, Jack Hirschhorn, who was an incredible teacher. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know. He was very patient. And it sort of started my career in a wonderful way, in that there are people who love parts of this profession, and they love passing it on to people who have that spark of enthusiasm. And that experience sort of paved the way for me to have continuing experiences like that. That people, once you express your genuine interest, they often will really reciprocate.
Yeah.
Because they know the only way you can learn a lot of this stuff is actually getting your hands on it as a camera assistant or actually operating a camera as a camera operator.
Yep.
And I was sincerely interested. So I took the NABA test and I passed the test. And during the test, the practical test is administered by 12 different camera assistants.
Wow.
So one of them said to me, you know, after you take this test and get in the union, you should really contact a camera woman named Lisa Rinsler.
Oh, I've heard of her name. I don't know her.
So I did that.
Yeah.
And I ended up working for her.
Huh.
And she was shooting everything, music videos, commercials.
Yeah, music videos
DPs,
is what I remember her name from. Yeah.
Short films. And it was the kind of low-budget jobs where sometimes I was the only camera assistant.
Yep.
And then, because of that, she had to teach me how to pull focus. Because I was qualified in the union to be, at that point, a second assistant or a loader. Mm-hmm. And often on jobs, at least in NABIT, that would be the same person, loader, second assistant.
Okay.
But many of her jobs were non-union. They were run and gun.
Yeah.
And so she had to teach me. And we did a low-budget movie. We traveled all over the West, actually. And it was so low budget, they only budgeted for one person. So, I mean, literally, she was teaching me how to pull focus.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So since it was non-union, I was learning everything.
Yep.
And my first union jobs were as a second assistant, and I was really lucky. One of the first movies I worked on was Mr. and Mrs. Bridge with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. And
that's amazing.
It was a James Ivory, it was a Merchant Ivory film. And I was just really fortunate that I'd had all this experience doing everything.
Yeah.
Because I did get to pull some focus on an extra camera. I was used to being on set. I was used to being in the lights going down, change all the film stock, run around, So my early experience was a mixture of being a second assistant and pulling focus. So I learned everything all at once.
Yeah.
I didn't have this identity as one category, which I think is also really helpful.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about this because I also worked for another woman director of photography named Joey Forsythe.
I know Joey Forsythe very well. I'm still a very good friend of hers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really great experience also.
Yeah, Joey's great.
Some short films. I don't think she did as many music things as
Lisa.
Yeah. But I did also come to California with her on various jobs.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, because she was Chicago, then New York, and then LA finally. That's
and
where
her
I met
background, she had been in lighting and as a gaffer,
Yep.
so she had a little bit different orientation too.
Joey was the gaffer on Blood Simple.
Yeah, yeah.
Which to this day I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so also with Joey, I did a movie where we had a camera operator. A lot of these independent movies I was doing did not have a camera operator. The DP was operating. Mm-hmm. But because it was film and because I was right at the camera, I was learning an incredible amount about the whole picture.
Yeah.
The whole enchilada.
That's
I
great.
was hearing the discussions between the director and the DP.
Yep.
I mean, probably that I would never have heard had it been something at Video Village. Mm-hmm. And hearing about lighting, hearing about, just 1,000 things I was witness to.
You said something really interesting that I hadn't thought of is that, now, because of Video Village and it's all sort of taken away, it's you do miss out on that because then it was like the director was generally standing. I mean, there wasn't a lot of video assist, so the director was generally standing somewhere nearby, so the conversations were all within earshot. That's fascinating. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother part of what we do that maybe is being missed.
Yeah, and the fact that the DP was operating.
Yeah, sure.
Which was good and bad.
Pluses and minuses, yep.
But I did learn a lot about filmmaking because I
Sure.
didn't go to film school. I had those 6 weeks, which was just about cinematography.
Yep.
It wasn't about the whole thing.
Yeah.
I certainly knew about storytelling from the theater, and I knew a little bit about lighting from theater. But the other thing was that I did a feature with Lisa, which was a little bit bigger. It was non-union, but it was directed by a woman, Nancy Savoca.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty complicated in terms of the stuff I had done, various locations all around New York.
Do you remember the name of the movie?
Yes, it was ta-da! True Love with Annabella Sciorra.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, we did this movie, and it won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that was an interesting, and it was like for everybody. We didn't know, of course, that it was going to be entered into Sundance, but it seemed like a really high stake experience for Lisa, for the director. It was just a little bit a bigger investment in everybody's career than some of these other projects that I had done.
Yeah.
It was very intense, I'll put it that way. I was pulling focus. And anyway, this is all to say that I didn't really think anything about these people I was working with in terms of the DPs, the man-woman thing. I didn't go out of my way to, I was also working with men, but I didn't go out of my way to say, well, I should try to work with a woman because they'll hire me.
Yeah.
No, it just sort of the way things rolled out.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And because I didn't work in the film business a whole lot as a PA, I really didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me that it would be unusual to be working with a woman director and a woman DP.
Okay.
And then when I worked with Joey, we did an even little bit higher stake movie called Naked in New York.
Oh.
And there was a woman camera operator,
Uh-huh.
Alicia Weber.
Okay.
And that didn't really, Alicia and I then worked on a couple other movies with Mike Barrow, who is a fantastic director of photography and just fantastic person. So I had these experiences, and it was the film business to me was so much easier to get into than acting.
Yeah.
It was just like, well, whatever I want to do, I just have to be really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a lot of people skills already under my belt from the theater world.
Yeah. Okay.
And from collaborating and from being on the stage and then off the stage. I had sort of that behind me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of preconceived notions about who could be a filmmaker or who could do any of these jobs.
Yeah.
It was at times, yes, brought to my attention that it might be somewhat of an issue, or people might look askance.
At you being a woman, you're saying?
Yeah. Or just would some of these other women that I was working with, what would be their next step? Would they get a bigger budget?
Yeah.
How would their careers proceed?
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of that. One of the things I was learning was leadership skills, right? Because I was really witnessing a woman being the head of a crew, which wasn't always easy.
Sure.
Because where I might have a second assistant that's a guy or a loader that's a guy.
Yeah.
And, we would work things out. As a woman at that point, and this is the early 80s, there was some blowback from male crew members about taking orders from a woman. Okay. I mean, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, sure. No, things change. I mean, and also at that point, I mean, how many female DPs were actually working? I mean, on bigger budget things and whatever,
Right.
Not that many. So
I mean, and I just didn't have a big picture.
Yeah.
I met Sandy Sissel. Later on, I met Ellen Kurris. I worked with a little bit with Ellen Kurris, but I didn't really get a sense of,
But it sounded like working with these people sort of normalized the idea that, like,
Yes.
there are women DPs, which if you were in a different pocket, you might think, well, I guess women don't become DPs because you wouldn't know that, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And also Alicia being a camera operator. And also her other part of her career was doing more like news, like 60 Minutes type things.
Okay. Yeah.
She had her own camera. She traveled around the world
Cool.
shooting like that. In New York, I got on a television show in NABIT, which was at that point pretty unusual. It was called The Days and Nights of Molly Dodd.
Oh.
And the reason that was such a good experience was Steve Dubin was the DP.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a gaffer, Mike Barrow, and there was a camera operator, and there was a first assistant. I was the second assistant loader because this was an official union job.
Okay.
It was sort of a big deal. So they didn't take my credits on all these indie stuff
Yeah.
to be a first assistant.
Sure.
So we did that, and it was an amazing bunch of directors and producers who really encouraged the collaborative spirit.
That's great.
And one of the main directors was a man named Don Scardino, who was a theater director
Yep.
primarily. And it was just such a fun environment. And some of the people that I had done indie features with sort of went, "You're going to do TV? Yuck." I mean, that was a really cool experience because I saw that it was possible for people to move up. So the second season, the DP wanted to be a director, so he started directing. The gaffer became the DP. The first assistant became the camera operator, and I became the first assistant. Now, the reason I was able to do that was that I'd had all this indie
Sure.
experience. It wasn't my first, and they knew that. They knew that I had that I wasn't a green,
Yeah.
first assistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the beauty of it also was that we were all there helping each other. So the camera operator would say to me, like he would tell me, you should pull focus now. Like he would help me make sure the cues were accurate. And
But you also got to see someone making the
Yes.
first they see the camera operator jump,
yes,
right?
I got to really witness firsthand somebody making mistakes, somebody living through it,
Which is priceless.
Yes, and seeing the sweat, seeing the anxiety, and the whole deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was experienced as a camera operator as I had been as a first assistant.
So you were more comfortable in your new position.
Yes, and hopefully I was more supportive of him. But I went on to work on indie features after that, and I worked with that DP on some movies, and with one of the directors from the show. But it was a very wonderfully collaborative experience.
That's great.
And so it was.
So when did you make the jump from first AC to operator?
Well, after I moved to LA in 1991. I continued assisting, and then in around 2000, I became a camera operator, and the impetus came from just partly being bored with being a first assistant and really wanting to make a transition. And I continued to work with DPs who often operated for themselves, even on union things.
Yeah.
It's union and non-union. So that was a little frustrating in that I wasn't continuing to see someone who was solely focused on camera operating. I mean, I did in some of the TV that I did, but on the indie features, the TV movies, I didn't necessarily get to witness that as a category and those skills. But anyway, so I decided I've got to do something else. Well, I'm in this. I might as well try to be a camera operator, or I'll go to law school. I don't know. I just really needed.
Yeah.
I was like ready to just launch myself.
And do you remember the project you moved up on?
Well, it wasn't that simple.
Oh.
Because I wasn't in that world where people would even say, "Here, do this shot."
Yeah.
You know, very, very occasionally was I in that situation. It was almost like, oh, the DP's stuck. He didn't get back for the from the weekend.
Yep.
Start the day.
Yep.
So I thought what I needed to do was get a reel together.
Okay.
And I also, one of my mentors was Fred Elms.
Oh.
And I asked him, should I go to AFI? Should I, I want to move on, but I'm not sure I want to be a DP, but I do want to be a camera operator. So he was like, well, I don't really think you need to go to AFI if that's what you want to do. I don't, because I'd already had an MFA. I'd already, at that point, I didn't really want to get into that kind of debt. So he said, just go and shoot stuff. Just shoot whatever you can. Just get behind a camera as much as you possibly can. So I did. I started shooting shorts, documentaries.
And this was basically pre-digital still, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so it wasn't as easy as it is now probably to shoot something.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I shot a short film on 35 millimeter. I mean, it was like counting every frame of film to try to get through the thing. So I did that for, on and off for a year. And I decided instead of taking long-term camera assistant, I would take short-term. So I only did commercials.
Gotcha.
Or some, shorts.
Yeah.
And I tried to either find or design or figure out how I would get a reel together showing all my skills, like a crane shot, handheld, all these different things. And what was really amazing was an old friend of mine from New York was going to do a feature, non-union feature here in LA. And so he sort of tried me out as a camera operator on a short that he was doing. Oh. And then he offered me this non-union feature.
That's great.
As a camera operator.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of projects with him.
Yeah.
And it was unusual in that he just really didn't like to camera operate it. He really liked to focus on the lighting.
Yeah.
And I hadn't found many people like that.
So is it a little more of the English style where you were working with the director and he was just
a little
lighting?
bit, yeah.
That's great.
And the first one that we did was with kids, which was even more of a challenge. And so that was amazing.
Yeah.
That really boosted my confidence and gave me this material for this reel, which I still don't know whether I really needed, but boosted my confidence.
Yeah.
And I did go out and have conversations I'd call people and, here I want to show you my reel. It changed my perception of myself. And I don't think it led directly to a job, but it started that shifting of my identity, my professional identity.
Yep.
And I also was in a group of people who were all trying to shift their careers in the film business, one way or another. Maybe they had just moved from New York. Maybe they were trying to up their game if it was something different or in their field, which also really gave me a new appreciation for every aspect of filmmaking. And one of the things that this group sort of gave me sort of re-upped my awareness and gave me a different awareness is how high the stakes are for so many different people that as a camera operator you're interacting with.
Oh, interesting.
Like a showrunner who's worked for 5 years to get this show sold.
Yeah.
A director who has gone up against how many people competing to get this credit.
Yep.
How everybody is invested in having a career in this business that they absolutely love, but how difficult it is to get that opportunity. So when somebody walks over to me because I've made a mistake and they're like steam coming out of their ears, I have a little bit more of an understanding of where that tension is coming from.
So it's an empathy for what they're going through.
Yes.
Because I think I know that I fight this is like we all tend to be sort of insular into our own little, this is the entire world, and we forget that there's this whole other world out there.
Yes, and the other part of that is the actors, right? So I have been an actor. I know what a huge deal it is to get any job. Now, maybe some of these people that I'm working with as a camera operator have been working for 45 years as an actor, and they think they're hot stuff. The insecurities that anybody has about doing that profession, I think, are pretty common, right? And if it's a brand new, if it's a guest actor on a TV show, oh my God, that's one of the more difficult positions to be in. So I do have empathy for all those people. I have empathy, even though it's frustrating, for the person that won't come out of their dressing room. You know, I have a sense of what the stakes are for everybody on a film set.
So since you brought up acting, actors, let me segue for a second and ask you, because it's out there. As a camera operator, what do you translate that to? How do you work with actors? How do you help with that? How do you help actors? How do you work with difficult actors?
Well, I try to show them the respect. I mean, I try to always introduce myself, even if I'm day playing. Because I think it's very disconcerting to have this new face behind a camera. I try to be, exude some sort of grace about, the process. I don't want to be heavy-handed because, it takes so much concentration to act in front of a camera. And that I'm aware of also, not being too chatty, not, being absolutely quiet when someone's trying to prepare or get a note from a director between take 1 and take 2, which is equally as important for me to listen to it as it is for the actor. Because very often directors don't realizing that they're changing something in the scene that's going to affect what I do.
Yep.
So that listening to that direction, which may change the timing or the blocking or whatever, is really important. Quiet is really important. Calmness is really important. Discussions about what I want to eat for lunch, that's something that doesn't happen right there. And even if the actor and I don't have a lot of conversations, we can get a sense of each other, particularly, like on a television series over time. Like I did this series called Being Mary Jane with Gabrielle Union, and a lot of intimate scenes, with her alone in her house doing various things. A lot of intensity, and we did not chat. But I felt like I respected her. And later, I worked on her at a different show, a couple of years later. And she's like, oh, my God, Bonnie, it's so great to see you. I mean, we really bonded, but it wasn't like I was part of her life. She was part of my life.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had actors, very difficult actors, very temperamental. Sometimes they've lost it with me, and...
What do you do when that happens?
I just apologize, and go back to the camera and forge ahead, It's
not easy. And we've all been there. I mean, if you haven't had an actor lose it over you for something, you haven't been in this industry long enough.
Yeah, and it was about changing their eye line.
Yeah.
And it was something the DP wanted me to do, and he knew that the DP knew it was probably going to be a little bit contentious. And
so you were sent out into the field.
I was assigned. I was there, so I was like,
we've all been there too.
Would you mind, instead of looking down at the dead body, can you just raise your eyes a little bit?
And let me guess, was the response why? Why would I do that? Why would
I am not a puppet.
I'm not a puppet. There you go.
And but this is a person who we all sort of knew was I think somebody, maybe this is a typical description, but sort of like a thoroughbred. Mm-hmm. Keyed up, very keyed up. Yep. Incredible actor, But, that's sort of the joy of working on a TV show. You really do learn who people are and how to handle them. And you also learn their idiosyncrasies in terms of their character. I did Monk. I did this 3 seasons of Monk. So, I knew the whole Tony Shalhoub's whole shtick with figuring out the clue, how the clues all work together,
So you basically get to know what sets them off, what makes them work, whatever, and you try to steer in that direction. Yeah,
and also just their physicality, how they move, how they react. I mean, that's one of the great things about working with someone over a period of time.
Yeah.
You can respond instinctively to them.
Yeah, and I think after a while they appreciate that, right? I mean, they look at you as an asset as opposed to just someone on the other side of the camera.
Yeah. And they have a certain comfort. It's a comfortable thing to have somebody that they're familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you made that jump to camera operating, I mean, in a sense you sort of did it almost gradually in a weird way, but what were some of the and you were essentially the A camera operator. It sounds like there probably on these projects there wasn't another camera operator, right?
Right.
So what were some of the biggest hurdles going from being an AC to an operator, like as far as the skill set that you had to have or had to create or whatever? What were some of the bigger hurdles?
Well, I think timing with like setting background action and main action, like the nitty gritty of, when should the waiter cross through to lead the camera to whatever's happening, the timing of shots. Particularly with an AD who's maybe not that experienced. And I hadn't really realized that was a skill that I could observe more, like by watching it in shots. Yeah. But I remember thinking, well, when should the car pull in? Should the car pull in then? You know what I mean? It's like, and in the dolly, it should, if we're countering, how fast should we be going? I mean, it was, fortunately, I was often lucky to have a really good dolly rep who could help out with the timing. Yeah. Much more painful when I had a very green dolly rep.
So this is a question I like to ask a lot is, when you have a green dolly grip, or by the way, and I'm assuming you've run into this, a dolly grip who maybe isn't happy that a woman is sitting on the camera, not telling them what to do, but sort of, leading the charge as far as what you're going to do.
Well, I heard someone who, I forget who this was, it might have been Bob Primes, but I don't remember exactly, say one of the jobs of being on a film set and being responsible for the contributions of other people to make a shot is that you want to bring out the best in other people and recognize that they have the potential, right? Even if they're inexperienced, they have the potential to be really good at what they're doing because it's hard to be in the film business, right? It's not easy. There's a reason that everybody you got to sort of want to be there. Yeah. There's very few people that just are like begrudgingly, showing up at 6 a.m. in the freezing cold or whatever. So that attitude helps other people relax. If I already have faith that, yes, I know booming up when they're standing up is difficult, but I'm sure you can do this. Slow down, It's sort of the way you communicate with somebody, I think, really helps.
Have you ever been in a situation, and I ask because I have, and I think a lot of people have, where you show up on something and it's very clear that the dolly grip is not working for you? Not that they work for you, but with you, but they're working for the director of photography, and they're not happy with you being there? You've replaced someone or something like that. To where, I guess the question is, that may be too specific, where the dolly grip has the ability to do the job well, but is not working with you as well as you would hope for. Have you ever had that situation?
I don't know that I've had that situation. I had the unfortunate situation of when I first started camera operating, not realizing that the dolly grip I had was under the influence.
Oof, that's a tough one.
Some of the times. And I didn't have enough self-confidence to be able to go, didn't we just discuss how you were going to start?
So were you questioning yourself, like maybe I didn't say what I think I said?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was questioning myself, and because that is one of the hardest things to get experience in, is making dolly moves, that are somewhat complicated or have a lot of elements that you're trying to cover in one dolly shot.
Yeah.
Not just a push in or pull. I'm talking about action unfolding, and the camera move is helping to tell that story in that shot. So that was a very difficult situation, which I learned from. I was one of those learning things. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, why didn't I see that?
But you know why you didn't say it, right? You just explained why.
Or that I didn't. I mean, then after that, working with very talented dolly grips.
Yeah. Then you realize, oh, this is how this is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I did work on location in places where people were not used to working with a woman. And I never had really any issues with that. I had some issues with someone that really wanted to be a camera operator, and they were a dolly grip. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we'd be like, the shot would have settled into whatever it's going to be, and all of a sudden I'm like, we're booming up. Why are we booming up? And then after, when the call cut, he goes, yeah, I really thought it'd be better just a little bit higher as I was thinking and looking at the shot, So, that took a lot of involving that person in making the shot and making the decision. Let's decide what we both think is the best thing for that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Really being inclusive.
And so, but how did you deal with that situation specifically?
Well, I said, let's decide. Yeah. I would say, let us. Yeah. Like he was part of we were a team.
As opposed to don't do that. Don't you do that.
No. Yeah. I can't tell people, don't do that.
No, that's
unless
smart.
they're like, doing something absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. No, that's good advice right there. What would you say the difference between a good operator and a great operator is? What do you think are the personality traits, the technique, the whatever?
I think part of it has to do with their understanding of how to set a shot, the purpose of a shot, what the purpose is. What are we trying to do here with this shot? Getting the style of the project in their bones, so that then they can have that freedom to be creative within the world that they're in, rather than trying to create a new world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And being able to suggest an idea, politically, have the political savvy to get other people excited in their idea. Like, ooh, what if we started high and then revealed this coming around? Just in sort of a infectious enthusiasm with their ideas.
And have you had a situation where you've had a director has come in and said, we're doing X, Y, and Z, this is what we're doing. And you look at it and you just realize there's a much better way to do it, but it's probably not going to be taken that well from an ego point of view. What are your suggestions for someone when they run into that? Well,
I would consider the time of day, the time allowed for whatever we're trying to do.
Sure.
If it's the end of a 12-hour day and they're supposed to wrap at 12 hours and this is the idea and we have 20 minutes to get it and it's complicated, maybe that's not the time to say, you know what, why don't we look this way? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of like if it's the beginning of the day and, that might be a better way to get your plan or your idea in. Some people, is it worth dealing with combating the ego of somebody who's dead set on something?
Yeah. So it's about reading the personality before you come up with it.
It's about reading. It's about choosing your battles. It's about the timing of things.
Yeah.
I mean, people are more stressed as the clock is ticking, So, and also I think having a discussion with the DP, maybe before the job even starts, like, if you haven't worked with that DP before, like, well, who are the personalities that we're going to be dealing with? And maybe, what's the best approach to things? I mean, I did this. I'm not going to say who this is, but okay. I have worked with someone for many seasons who was a screamer, but did not seem to be aware of that.
Really?
Yes. And also didn't seem to be aware of the fact that I must have reminded him of the one sister that drove him nuts.
Wow. So the deck was stacked against you before you even got there.
And what was really, I just barreled through, and it was so tense, and the DP was just like, "What can I tell you? Everybody at Video Village is like crazy. Everybody's like crazy right now." I mean, they could offer me no help. It's just like, just get a shot.
Yeah, yeah.
Just shoot something. And that actually was a really, ultimately I learned how to, make something under that sort of stress.
In the chaos.
I don't recommend that as a way to work, but I had to do it day after day after day. And I decided not to quit. I wasn't worth quitting over. So I wanted the job. I mean, I wanted to figure out how to do it.
I think that's a lot of it too, though, is not letting these things get to you personally. Is that person, like you said, that person was a screamer, but it may have had nothing to do with you. It may have had to do with what triggered them or whatever. And that's a tough game to play sometimes. Sometimes it's a losing game. You work both as a B camera operator and an A camera operator. Advice for a B camera operator. What makes a good B camera operator? What traits?
Well, this seems so obvious to me. I don't know that I need to say it, but if something that you in your shot, in order to make it better, would maybe will affect the A camera shot. Discussing it, not just going ahead and doing it. That is so aggravating when you're an A camera operator. It's just like, what?
Meaning suddenly something's changed and you're
like the lamp.
Yeah.
That, okay, it's over the person's head in your B camera close-up. And then you move it, and then it's like in the worst possible place for the A. I mean, you have to discuss that stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a lot of like, should it be here? Should it be there? I mean, it's like ridiculous, but you have to discuss what, and even like maybe sometimes even involve them, because a lot of my B camera operating, I've done it full time, but I've also done it day playing, which is a whole nother subject. But that sometimes, particularly when I'm day playing or as I'm getting to know the A camera operator, I'll show them my shot and I'll say, does this sort of fit the world that we're in here, the style of this show? Because if it's a brand new show and you haven't had a chance to watch what previous episodes look like, you have to get the parameters of what is a close-up on this. What is a good eye line for this? How are we going to get the two cameras together but just really being accommodating as the B camera operator and really I don't know. I mean, that's just really the obvious.
And you were, it's a good question because you were saying about day playing as a B camera operator. Day playing as a B camera operator, what information do you try to get from the A camera operator either before you start or on the first day, as far as what is a close up and
just all of that? Like, what is there a, how would you describe the style of the show? Yeah. I mean, I worked on this show and I came in and I didn't realize that the A camera operator normally wasn't the A camera operator. So he was like super excited that on this day he was the A camera operator. So I said to him, and I sort of knew him. I had never really worked with him, but I knew him. So I'm like, so what's the style of the show? He said, really creative. Just go for really offbeat, like really out of this world stuff. Just like try something really different on every shot.
And you're assuming this guy has been there all the time.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm supposed to do an over. Like he's doing this big, I'm supposed to do over this person to this other person. So I'm like making it really edgy, like just really bizarre. And the DP finally comes over and goes, just give me an over, like a TT
What are you
over.
doing?
Just give me an over. He's like looking at his watch doing, what? We're gonna be here all night.
Yeah.
Just do this now.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And it was, I'm not going to say what it was, but it was a very unusual show, and it hadn't aired, and nobody knew anything about it, and I couldn't figure out what it was about.
Yeah.
Until like 3:00 in the morning when the A Dally Grip just told me the whole premise of the show. But that it would have been helpful had I like asked a few more questions, maybe not from that camera operator.
That's great. So basically, not from now on, it's how long have you been on this show? And then you ask the other questions.
Yeah.
That's great. What do you do, probably more as the A camera operator, when the DP and the director are both telling you to do two separate things or want two separate styles or two separate versions when they're not playing nicely together?
Yeah. Well, I sometimes set up what the director wants.
Yeah.
To make sure I understand what they want. Let's say I'll set that up. And then I will privately talk to the DP, not on headsets, but maybe I'll take a second to find out wherever they are and just go, have you had a chance to look at this? Because I know you had this, but this is what she wants in this shot. And then they can react to me and go, I hate that. You know what I mean? They have a moment to like, they don't have to react in front of the director. They can tell me like, really? Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then I can say, well, should we offer up a compromise or, how would you like to change this or whatever? I mean, if there's time.
Yeah.
I mean, but just rather than the headset thing, I think the personal face-to-face
Interesting.
is sometimes the way to do that.
Since you brought it up, thoughts about working on headsets, not talking about being on a crane, not talking about being 12 miles apart, but being on a regular set, because it's becoming more and more a thing. And I like to ask most the operators that I talk to what their thoughts are about working on headsets.
Well, it's in some ways it's a time saver. And I have had directors of photography who have talked to me during the shot. I don't know if you remember NYPD Blue.
Yep.
But that was the first time I ever experienced that.
That sort of makes sense in a weird way because it was that's the way that show felt like it was chaotic. So
well, but to be screamed at over
no, I'm
the
not
headset.
saying the process makes sense. I mean the fact that it was being done made sense.
But anyway, I did learn how to have somebody saying
in your ear,
just tilt. Yeah. I mean, literally like tilt up, things like that, which is very difficult to do, which I really do not like. It's really, really, throws off your whole rhythm. I don't really like it that much, but it seems to be the way things are going. I mean, I like to have some way sometimes of just being on one channel with the first AC so that the whole world isn't hearing, well, on this take, I'm going to start on the poster and then find. I'd like to give them a heads up on what I'm going to do.
Sure.
Or also so they don't create a thing that I'm not part of also.
Yeah.
Like, no, stay on the pillow. Don't go to the wall. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like as anybody who listens to this knows, I'm firmly against it. Not to say that it doesn't have its moments, but overall, I think it's problematic more than it is helpful in the long run. But maybe it's because I'm old school. I don't know. How much do you think about the cut with the edit when you're shooting?
Well, I think about entrances and exits and the turnaround, sort of how that's all going to flow together. I can't keep all of that in my head all that well.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I think of it. I probably could think of it more than I do.
Okay. And we sort of talked about prepping and before you come into a job, but let's say you're starting a full job. What does prep look like for you? Either, as far as the script, as far as the history of the director, as far as even prep with, ahead of time with the camera department?
Well, I like to look at if I have time to look at what some of the other work is of the people I'm working with. If it's a new DP, I like to maybe look at snippets of what they've already shot, or even with the director, maybe read some things about them, or if they've written anything in the press, just get a sense of that. A little anecdote. I worked on this show that no one ever heard of called Bunheads, about dancers. Okay. And that's a trade slang for ballerinas.
Really? Bunheads?
Yes.
I did not know that.
And it was one of the most fun things I've ever worked on, and no one seemed to think that way. But it was an Amy Sherman Palladino project with her husband. And it was after Gilmore Girls, before Mrs. Maisel. And it was with Sutton Foster, was the star, who's best known for, she's a Tony Award-winning musical comedy actress. With amazing dance numbers, amazing. And it was just, I've never worked on anything like that before, other than documentaries about dancers or something.
Well, that's the Palladino's whole thing, right, is the big dance numbers. I think actually Jim McConkey told me the next thing they're doing is in the world of ballet, so maybe it's like their Bunheads 2.0 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I day played on Gilmore Girls. I didn't really have much experience with them, but there was some bad rap about working on Gilmore Girls from various people that I had heard. So that was one thing when I was on that show full time as a B camera operator. So before I started that show,
on Bunheads, you mean?
On Bunheads, yeah. I needed to erase all that stuff from my head and start with a new sense of it, and a new sense of them.
Yeah.
Which I did pretty much start with, and I think that's important too. Like if somebody has this intense reputation, you have to consider the source, right, and go into it with a sense of this could be the most amazing
maybe people
experience.
Change, right?
Maybe people change, or maybe with this set of circumstances, and having that under their belt, or with this crew, or whatever.
Yep.
And I've been aware of that as I've bounced around with different people.
Yeah, that's important. No, I like that a lot, actually. I should probably do that more.
Rather than just go on what the reputation is.
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
And the other thing was, I just want to say about Insecure, because that was one of the best experiences I ever had working with.
This is an HBO show? HBO. With, who was in it?
Issa Rae.
Okay.
It went on. I did the first season. After the first season, they totally cleaned house, and they hired a whole new crew.
Okay.
And it went on for I don't know, quite a while.
And you were on A camera, B camera?
I was on B camera, and Colin
Anderson?
No.
Colin Hudson?
Colin Hudson was A camera,
A camera steady cam. Gotcha.
Yeah. And it was the beginning of it was very, they didn't know the style that they wanted. So we tried a lot of different things. And that was sort of exasperating to a lot of people. But for whatever reason, I really, I really clicked with the subject, the show, the idea of experimenting, and behind me was total chaos. People, that I worked with, they go, "That was the worst experience I have ever had. Oh my God, that was nuts." And I'm like, this is so great.
Did you realize at the time that there was chaos and you weren't a part? You were just completely.
No,
you were just enjoying yourself.
There were people like,
that's great.
We have just worked for 14 hours and we still have 2 more seasons. I'd be like, what? Oh,
wow.
How time flies.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that, and I can run into somebody and say, what happened on that? So,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it was great.
Wow.
And I really felt like I was contributing creatively because of my conversations with the showrunner, the directors. I felt like I had some input. And wow, did it make a difference.
That's amazing. So really it wasn't that you were in denial. You were just, your piece of it was working very well.
Yeah.
And you were being considered and part of the process.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge part of it is because I've been on shows where they just don't want your input, and I cannot wait to get off of them because that's an AI head or something like that. You don't need me if that's the case. But I'd rather have some input into the storytelling, and I think it does make a difference. It makes days go faster and work go better, and you're more involved in it, no question. You worked on the Kominsky Method. Kominsky Method? Method? Tell me about that, because that must have been fascinating. I mean, that cast is it's incredible.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was thinking about that. What was really interesting, the first season of that was that it was a lot of funny things about that. But Michael Douglas, out of the gate, would be like astounding, like rehearsal.
Really?
Like, whoa. And he really liked to get it, move on.
Yeah.
He also had this desire, rule, whatever, that once he was on set, no tweaking.
Better be ready. Okay.
Got to be ready. And that sort of set a tone that ultimately I think worked out, but it was harder on the DP than it was for me.
Sure.
But heaven forbid a ladder appeared anywhere, because he was very proud of, or is very proud of, he's done it all.
Yeah. He has.
So sometimes when I would be setting background behind him, and I'd be like, "Could you move over here, or whatever?" And he was sitting there because he couldn't really do it before he showed. I mean, he couldn't always do it, right? And he'd say to me, "I know exactly what you're doing." And not in a bad way, but just want you to know that I know what you're doing, because you don't want them hidden behind me. You know what I mean? He just wanted people to acknowledge, yes, he's been a producer, he's been this, he's done that. Not in that bad a way, but just,
Isn't that interesting?
there he is, you know.
Yeah.
But Alan Arkin, who wasn't in the last season, but it was in the first 2 seasons, really liked to rehearse. He really liked to discover. He liked to relish.
Yeah.
So sometimes that was interesting.
Was it just every day was sort of a masterclass in watching these guys act? I mean, and not only them, but the women in the show, and I mean across the board, it's an incredible cast.
Particularly, Michael Douglas on a phone call.
Yeah.
It would be like, oh my God, I just am totally there with you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And when you say he didn't like adjustments, I mean, was he aware that if he came in and something changed, or nothing ever changed for him because he knew exactly what he wanted to do?
He hardly changed anything,
But Alan Arkin, I mean, it seems like a little bit of an odd couple situation.
Yes, a little bit. I think Michael Douglas allowed Alan Arkin the
what he needed.
He needed, but it was sort of like there was a pride in Michael Douglas's ability to, nail something.
So if that's the case, for that to work, you must have had excellent stand-ins on that show.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about working with the stand-ins on that show? Because it's one of the parts of this business I think people don't talk about enough.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's very true. I mean, it really is. It makes my job as an operator so much easier. Not easier, but just flow better if the stand-ins really have followed the blocking and really have paid attention to the rehearsal.
And were they like sort of their longtime stand-ins? You know, people have worked with them for a lot, or? Yes,
I don't know that Alan Arkins was long time.
Yeah,
but what's also really funny is when you when you have a stand-in who's worked with an actor for a really long time, but they look nothing like that.
They look nothing like that.
They're just a friend, that has needed a job for all these years. So that's sort of funny too.
The great ones to me are the ones who have been with someone for a while and they're like, you know, I just want to let you know I'm going to show you what he did because he sat down and he picked up the phone, but I guarantee you he's going to pick up the phone and then sit down. So let me show you them both. You know, they understand how these people work, and
they pick up on the mannerisms,
and they'll protect you. I mean, I for a long time I try to always engage the stand-ins as much as I can. If I'm going to grab something crafty and they're standing in still, I'll ask them if I can get them something or something, because they can make or break you, depending on how good they are.
Yeah,
and I don't think they get the credit that they deserve.
they really
it's a hard
don't.
Job too,
it's a hard job, and it's also so important for lighting. I mean,
it's incredible.
The other thing that is a sort of a pet peeve of mine is a second assistant who's marking the actors, but has no concept of what they're seeing.
What do you mean?
Like wasn't really paying attention to the rehearsal. You know, because then when you are rehearsing it with the stand-in, sometimes you need to make a slight change.
Yep. And
so you tell the second assistant, well, you know, when he walks to the other chair, just change the mark. Remember that? So he's in. I mean, sometimes they just need to remember the coordination of events.
They're sort of into the micro and they don't see the larger picture. Yeah,
yes.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it really, or they haven't read the sides.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the camera department needs to read the sides.
Totally agree.
And you know, be paying attention to that.
Yeah. And know the story and know why. I mean, you know, it's that thing to me of with camera assistants and with dolly grips and camera operators is there's going from A to B, and then there's knowing why you're going from A to B, and that's the whole difference right there, right? Is if you understand the story, you know why you're going from A to B.
Yeah.
And I think that's lacking a lot. Thoughts for someone who's coming up as a camera operator? Tips, ideas, things that people should be aware of, need to work on?
Let me think.
Or things that helped you?
Well, knowing the wheels.
Yeah.
Knowing the wheels well enough that it didn't have to be this rote by myself experience with a flashlight and and the wheels.
Yeah.
And I also sort of finesse that by then also practicing with other people that wanted to learn it. So actually having somebody to follow and sit down and stand up, and any sort of experience like that of practicing.
Yeah.
As I said, one of the hardest things to learn is how to do a dolly move, how to do any part of that. And I've said this several times, but nobody lately has ever taken up, maybe because of the pandemic, but there was a workshop that, I don't know, it was the SOC or the union or Local 600 did with Local 80. And it was about dolly grips, learning how to be a dolly grip, and people learning how to be a camera operator and setting up track. The whole thing, because it's good as a camera operator to know how to set up track, to know the whole process, because of those times when maybe you'll be starting out your career and you're with somebody that doesn't know how to level it, or when you're working with people that are your beginner level, it's really challenging. You know, so to learn those things that are that seem peripheral to your job but are part of it is important. And to go to any sort of workshop like that
That's a great idea.
You know, that was I think that only happened once, but it was really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were people there that were really good dolly grips, so that they, you know, they could demonstrate the effective way to do it.
Yep. Yep.
The other thing is, for somebody coming up, it's like if you're on a job in any position in the camera department and you want to become a camera operator and there is a crane, if there's any way you can be involved with the setup and then maybe do a little practicing at any point in that.
You're saying as someone who's not a camera operator,
Yes.
as an assistant or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like, you know, they set up the crane. I wasn't doing a shot. So I got to, like, help them by, like, playing with the wheels while they're moving the thing around, or just, you know, just adjusting it.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the hardest things to get experience on.
Is setting up crane shots.
Setting up crane shots and operating on a crane shot.
Yep.
There is nothing as different when you're used to being on a dolly as then not being with the camera as it's moving.
Because it's three-dimensional through the air as
Yes.
opposed to you being
Yes.
attached to it.
Yeah. And when I first started as a camera assistant, the cranes were, you were on the crane. I was on the crane as a camera assistant, and then I was on the crane as a camera operator. And, you know, those cranes where you cranked it yourself.
Yep, and you actually had to crank the base to pan around.
Oh, God. And fortunately, I had one of the most wonderful crane dolly grips to talk me through it.
That's great.
I mean, I was just so freaking nervous about doing it.
When you were operating, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because that was a weird thing, because you had that crank, but it was like, it was hard. It was hard to turn. And I remember when I was on those, what was that, a Titan maybe? Was that the Titan? I would try not to turn that thing as much as, or as little as I could, and you know, do a pan around and get my body into the strangest positions just to not have to crank that thing, because it was not easy.
Yeah, and you know, that show was Carnival that Jeff Jur shot, and I was a camera assistant for Jeff Jur, and then I operated.
I day played a little bit on that, not much, but
yeah. I remember.
I love Jeff Jur.
I remember when you came.
It was like out in the middle, out in Disney Ranch or something.
Yes,
like that,
and starting out as a camera operator, some of the people that gave me a break were people that I had assisted.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jeff Jur gave me some work.
Love Jeff Jur.
As a camera operator, and then eventually he hired me in a series as a camera operator. So as full time, but I started out day playing.
Okay.
And one of the things I day played on was Carnival, which it was an amazing, beautifully lit show. I mean, just gorgeous.
Oh, it is. Actually, for anybody listening who hasn't seen it should go see it.
Yes.
HBO?
HBO, yeah. And I often day played with this director named Rodrigo Garcia, who is one of my all-time favorite people I have met in the filmmaking world.
Yeah.
And he, at some point, was a camera operator before he became a director. Okay. So he has an appreciation. So sometimes we would be doing things, and maybe when I was day playing, there was 3 cameras, and we'd be covering this huge scene, and I was C camera, and I was just supposed to be getting crowd reactions. Yeah. So he would say, with this great sense of humor and appreciation, "Okay, Bonnie, show me what you got." You know, and then I did this crane shot where I had to do move the turret, and I had never done it before, and I was just like sweating bullets. He was, and at the end of it, he was like, "Oh my God, that was so smooth and beautiful." I mean, he built my confidence because he appreciated what went in technically to achieving certain shots.
And he understood it, obviously.
Yes. Yeah. And later, there was this odd little show called Blue that he and another very famous person whose name I'm blanking on. Rodrigo was involved with this show called Blue, and he was producing and directing, and it was it was the beginning of like webisodes. It was the beginning of putting things online.
Okay.
And it was done in this tiny place somewhere in Culver City. And he got incredible actors and people to work on it.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. And I think Jeff Jur did one of them. They were very short. They were only a couple of days. Nancy Schreiber did one of them. Various people. And I worked on some of them. And there was this freedom of trying stuff out. And it was like this workshop feeling.
That's great.
And it was really great. He was just so encouraging, and I was so glad that I got to work with him.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And that's one of the things about. I think one of your questions was about how do you deal with all the different personalities.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Well, one of the, I would say, greatest benefits of having a career in the film business is the personalities that you get to work with. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is fascinating. I mean, what other profession would I have encountered someone like Rodrigo Garcia? I mean, not just the technicians who are incredible, but the people whose knowledge of human behavior and willingness to try to tell stories to elucidate that. I mean, that to me is fascinating. Mm-hmm. And to get to work with some of these people, whether they're in front of the screen or behind the screen, it's just, even on shows that just went absolutely nowhere, but that they were, the people, creators or whatever, were working things out that maybe later came to better success or bigger success. But having an appreciation of that right from the get-go, I think helps has given me an appreciation for sometimes the difficulties that some of these people have in communicating or in being receptive to other ideas. Mm-hmm. It's not just that it's competitive. It's that some of these people are trying to get ideas out into the world that are very personal and very, like they have searched their soul to write a script or or sell it to get made.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're running up against something or whatever after all this time, and you don't necessarily see everything that came before. You're just in the moment. That makes perfect sense. Work-life balance in a business with long hours and everything else.
Yeah, I mean it's been challenging. I think the hardest part was when I went on location to Atlanta for several seasons in a row.
Well, what was that for?
The first season was a show called Single Ladies, and then I did 3 seasons of Being Mary Jane.
Oh, okay. With
Michael Negrin. And
Michael Negrin, yeah.
Being away from my friends and from my husband for that great periods of time, that took a toll on the relationships. Yeah. It took a while to come back, bring back,
Yeah.
When that was over.
And you're married to someone, and your husband's in the industry.
Yes.
Right? So is that easier because he understands it, or is it harder because...
I think it's easier because he understands it. And when we first met, he did a lot of traveling. He did a lot more traveling.
Yeah.
And he was working as a camera assistant in commercials, so his jobs would come up at the last minute. Oh, got to go to,
Peru or wherever, Japan,
or I gotta, it was very hard to plan anything because they would come up at such a short notice.
Yeah, and so over time, does that change the jobs you take and whatnot based on that?
No, I think we were both so into working.
Yeah.
That if I got an opportunity, I felt like, oh, I got to grab this.
Yeah.
And that's sort of in retrospect, which I wish I had sometimes been a little bit more thoughtful.
Yeah.
About what I jumped on and what I, but that's being a freelance person.
That's exactly right. And you never know until the other side of it, right? What's the best part of being an operator and the worst part of being an operator?
Well, the best part is when I feel like I can create a shot or even part of a shot that really helps tell the specific part of the story that shot is meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times I've worked on things which are very maybe conventionally beautiful, like Dirty Sexy Money, a show about these elegant people in this elegant surroundings, and that really appealed to me.
Okay.
I just felt like that aesthetic was just like, it was so gorgeous,
Yeah.
and the lighting was so gorgeous. It was like sort of thrilling to be creating something from that environment.
Was that also Jeff Jur?
Yeah. And that there's a certain satisfaction to that. I mean, I worked on Insecure, which was the exact reverse aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
I guess part of it is getting the style of the show, you know, just instinctively in me, so that what comes out fits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's sort of like getting the right accent, like getting the accent perfectly to sound like you're from the place.
Yep.
That's sort of an odd way of describing that.
No, but I think I know what you mean. It's at a certain point, you don't even have to think about it anymore because you understand it so well, and then you can just concentrate on you can just concentrate solely on the storytelling and whatnot.
Yes, and being part of that world where everybody else is in sync with it.
Yeah.
And really cares about it.
Yeah.
Like you had a question about the set dresser, and I feel like I really try to have a really good relationship with the set dresser, and
Yeah.
I really appreciate set dressers because I find a lot of them come from an interest in production design and design.
Yeah.
And interior decorating, or just design in general, and composition. And that if I can sort of get that spark in them lit, they're so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though it might mean moving the couch one more time. You know, that sort of unsung hero is a really important part of, I think, being a good camera
It's so
operator.
funny because I'm the guy who always is sort of like, well, maybe we could work around the couch. And they'll usually go, no, come on, that's our job. We're going to move come on, guys, let's move the couch. Good on-set dressers, it's the best thing in the world. Working in concert with them, especially when they realize what you're trying to do, which is what I always try to include them. I mean, how do you, what you're working with on-set dressers, do you include them right from the get-go?
Yeah. And I show them the frame.
Yeah.
I show them the composition. And if I have an ongoing relationship, I might say, well, you know, what do you think? Should we blah, 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 blah. I mean, I try to include them in the process.
Absolutely. Well, and the way I look at it is also sort of, you know, my wife's always saying, why are you putting the chair over there or whatever? And I figured they're good at this, so why wouldn't I include them in that? But there are some people I find who don't as much, and I never understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess one of the last things I'll say is just about working as a team. And that's one of the things I wish as a camera operator I'd had been able to work on more features. Because I feel like the spirit that I encountered working on features, it was just being in it together from beginning to end,
Yeah.
and having that beginning and ending of one story. I found very moving, and would often really involve everybody on the crew
Yeah.
in a different way than a TV series does, which,
Gotcha.
you know, sometimes people sort of get numb
Yeah.
to the experience.
It becomes a job.
Yeah, and particularly if it's a really ongoing thing. That was interesting about Being Mary Jane, because the first season, I don't know how they did this. It was only like 8 or 10 episodes, but the same person directed all of them, and we did it in sequence.
Oh, really?
So it was much more the feeling of working on a feature story.
Yeah.
And I wish I had pushed myself to make contacts in that world more when I was
Yeah.
a camera operator.
So wrapping up, I have 2 final questions for you. This has been fantastic. Thank you. Is there a project that you worked on that you don't think got the credit that it deserves, or people didn't see that you wish they had seen, or something like that? And tell me about your photography side gig, which I guess really is very much part of your main gig, but just a different subset of it.
Well, there was this show. Well, Bunheads was one of the shows that I felt like.
Did that ever come out?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it
yeah.
did. Okay.
It was one season, and Sutton Foster was just one of the most gracious, wonderful people, and I loved every part of that. I loved the actors. I loved the dancers.
Yeah.
I loved the whole thing. And there was another show called Doubt. That was a TV show, and Tony Phelan was the showrunner with his wife. His name, I'm not, Joan Rader. Anyway, they were fantastic people, and they were very inclusive, and in every aspect of their casting, of who they had on set, who the writers were. They were wonderful, wonderful people to work for. And I felt like that show just went under the radar, and I think only lasted one season also. But as a personal experience, it was really very fulfilling.
And that's so funny because the shows, the shows that I've worked on that have been like that, where people have been inclusive and everybody's sort of like, how do we make it better? And we can all be a part of it. I think everybody just steps up and it's not assured to be a hit, but it's just a better experience for everybody. And as a result, I think it's a better product in the long run as a result of that. And your photography.
Well, as I mentioned, what got me into the filmmaking business was still photography.
Yeah.
And it has been, since I discovered it, a hobby. And fortunately, I have been able to travel a lot with my work. So I would always try to spend some time after the job was over or whatever, extending the visit so that I could travel and I could, really do my photography.
Yeah.
A lot of times on location, when I don't have any friends or family on the weekends, I would be going out doing my photography. And I think the camera operating has stimulated my own creativity as a photographer. And I think it's also in reverse that I and I think it's what's helped me be an A camera operator as well as a B camera operator. Because in my own work, I can do a big, wide composition and practice. I don't consciously practice that. Sure. I just find myself doing that so that I have confidence as an A camera operator. Let's see the whole room and make it make sense to the story. Or, So, it's been a real joy. I mean, it continues to be.
That's great. Is there a website or something? Or
I have a website.
What is it? You want to pitch it?
BonnieBlakePhotography.com.
Okay.
And the Instagram, which is Bonnie S. Blake, is even more current, up to date.
Oh, I actually don't have your, so I'm gonna follow you on Instagram. For anybody who's interested in looking, you absolutely should, because your photography is breathtaking. Some of the beach scenes you have are so phenomenal with the fog coming in and all. Every once in a while I'll see it on Facebook and now hopefully on Instagram soon.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was really this was a joy for me, and it was great sitting and talking to you.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much.
Wow. Bonnie was just such a pleasure to talk to. There's so much great information there, and what a great story. If you like the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating, maybe write a review, maybe take a billboard out on Sunset Boulevard and throw us up there. Share us with friends, anything that'll help get the word out there. Website, of course, is theop.io, and the Instagram account is also theop.io. So please check us out, pass us around, get us out to friends, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.